Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated Legacy action. For today's midweek meta deck slot, we are playing CoolUser's Legacy Challenge 32 winning deck list. Now this one, at first I thought, oh, it's a bit like the initiative decks. And then I thought, oh, it's kind of got some elements of Death and Taxes, but really it's kind of doing a whole bunch of stuff here that's not quite the same as any of those things. So let's get into it. So again, we are a white-black deck. And we have 4 copies of Karakas here. That's the big headline part of this deck, really, because we're using these with Samwise the Stouthearted. So this is going to be an engine, once we have these two in play, where we can keep rebuying permanents that die. So, for example, our Mishra's Baubles, or these Wastelands, good old fetch land even, a creature that dies to something, or a Solitude that we've evoked. So we've got a selection of ways of using that. In order to make this more effective as well, we have Aether Vial, so we can keep putting it in. And then we have an interesting selection of creatures. We don't have any one-drop creatures, which is kind of wild to me. We don't have any one-drop ways of like impacting the board. We just have Aether Vial, which saves up for later turns. But we do have Thoughtseizes and Source of Plowshares to kind of do some interaction on that turn. So ideally, we'd be looking to do a Thoughtseize turn 1, but we can't really apply any pressure at any particularly strong rate here. But that's fine. So what are we actually doing with this deck? Well, we have Orcish Bowmasters, which is a pretty good reason to be playing black. So this lets us ping some little creatures. It can sort of lock blue decks underneath their own cantrips, so we don't want to cast them in case they give us a big creature and stuff. So they're pretty useful. And then we have this Recruiter of the Guard package. 4 copies of Recruiter of the Guard, and then a whole bunch of things we find with it. Before Solitude, so, you know, we've got a lot of removal here. But then we've got a different removal in Skyclave Apparition ×2. We have a Palace Jailer, which we can go and find to get the Monarch and remove something. A Loran of the Third Path to remove artifacts and enchantments. Again, Loran of the Third Path, very good with Karakas here and our Aether Vial. We can just keep bouncing that and blowing stuff up against the matchups where it matters. Then we have a Plague Engineer. If our opponent's got some creatures we're not too happy with and they're relatively small, we can sweep them away. So that's going to be useful for elves and decks with loaded mana dorks and stuff. But sometimes we'll be naming Orc and just getting rid of our opponent's Bowmasters. And then we have a Passageway Seer. So we've got something that gets us the Monarch in the Palace Jailer. And here we have something that gets us the Initiative. So we have 4 Recruit of the Guard can find us these 2 ways of snowballing a game out of control. And that's basically the deck. There's not a lot of parts to it, but it does remind me a little bit of the Perez deck we've played, where it didn't seem like it had enough stuff in it, but it always seemed to work and get there, because Perez is very good at building those decks, and I've been enjoying playing them on the channel, even though they're not my sort of decks. I think they're very well built. And this kind of reminds me of that. 4 Karakas can potentially be a bit of a liability, but we are really trying to leverage Samwise. And who doesn't want to see one of the newer cards getting a bit of love? So I thought this would be a good deck to play for today. Nothing else really to mention about the mana base, other than the fact we've got some plains and some swamps here, so we can go and play around Blood Moons and things and opposing Wastelands, as well as having things to find off of the initiative. Decent chunk of fetch lands because we're trying to utilise them with Samwise the Stouthearted as well. And obviously Wasteland, something I'm a big fan of. So that's some extra tools buried in the mana base. So we do have a little bit more action going on than you may be initially thinking. Now, Samwise has a weakness of being an X1 in Orcish Bowmasters world, but we'll see how we cope with that. Clearly this deck is doing alright since it just won an event. So let's see how it fares in my hands. Quick chat about sideboard. Some odd ones here, I think. Most standout card here is the Emrakul. So this is going to be useful for Painter's Servant matchups, where they can't grindstone us out. But we can also board it in against the Show and Tell matchups, because if they Show and Tell, we can jump at an Emrakul and then just win the game that way. So it's kind of like a bit of a cheese card, but it's a single slot, and it's going to be pretty good. And if we do have the initiative going, and we flip over this with our Throne of the Dead 3, that's going to be pretty tasty. Alright, so we've also got 2 Stony Silence for the artifact decks. Null Rod is kind of essential at the moment due to the One Ring decks, so this is just a white version of that. And it's kind of harder to answer. Most people don't have answers for enchantments. They tend to go for artifact hate. Card of Thalia to slow down some combo decks. Containment Priest to mess with Show and Tell and Graveyard decks. More Graveyard Hate and Fairy Macabre. More Graveyard Hate and Leyline the Void. It's going quite hard on that. A couple more Duress for the combo matchups, because we're trying to grind with our engine here. So this makes sense. And 1 Mindbreak Trap, again, for the combo matchups. And we have a Pithing Needle, which is an interesting singleton, in my opinion, but we'll see how this plays out. There's various things we can name it for, Planeswalkers, stuff like that. So we'll just play it by ear as we get to it. So this is the deck. I'm not sure how it's going to go, but I'm interested to see a different take on it. I've tried to play a Samwise deck in the past, and there'll probably be more. I think I've got one in my donation deck queue at the moment that I'm sort of finalising the list for, so definitely going to be some more of this Samwise popping around. Quite how good it is, I've yet to really see it pop off in a way that's impressed me, but hopefully this deck is the shell to do that. Alright, remember to like and subscribe, maybe check out the Patreon if you're interested, and let's play some Legacy. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past, so why not give them a try? Okay, we're into round 1 against an opponent who is famous for playing Dredge. So I'm going to keep this hand because we can get rid of bridges with our Solitude. Our game 1 is going to be pretty bad against Dredge anyway, but this hand is serviceable. We get to hopefully Duress away the scary thing, or Thoughtseize away even. So we want to get rid of the enablers here. That's what we're looking at here. The Careful Study is probably the scariest thing here. This will force them to Cabal Therapy themselves. So our opponent's kind of famous for playing these blue Dredge builds with Dazes and Force of Wills in. So it's kind of a different beast to play against. It's a little bit slower and less explosive, but has a bit more interaction on other levels. I've played their deck on the channel before. Always like seeing innovation in Dredge. There's the Misty Rainforest, cracked for an Underground Sea. Cabal Therapy, targeting themselves. They're going to name Golgari Thug here and put this into the graveyard. Unless they've drawn a better Dredger. They named Golgari Thug. So we've got another Cabal Therapy in hand. Understood. Another Thoughtseize. Do we care about this? Is this something we're going to fire off? I don't want to reveal our white mana just yet. I think we want to Thoughtseize here. Our opponent is probably going to be dredging, so we don't really have to worry about this Force of Will. The Cabal Therapy is something they can actually cast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this will give them the threshold on the Colosseum. That's not the end of the world for us. So I think we take the Therapy here. That's just an easy enabler for them to put more stuff in the graveyard. We'll pass. So we have Pitchcast Solitude, which will remove all their bridges once they get the bridges in the graveyard. Okay, so they found an Icarid. And there's a Cephalid Colosseum. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So they can activate this. They don't currently have any dredges in hand. Yep, so they're doing this just so they can get rid of the dredger in their hand, maybe find another one. So they're definitely discarding this bridge from below. I think we can safely assume that one. Yep, and they discard a Narcomoeba. Not the Force of Will though, that's interesting. That suggests to me that they might have blue mana. Are we just going to keep jamming Thoughtseizes at our opponent here? I hate that. Sure. Make sure we can resolve the thing we want to resolve in a minute. Brainstorm, Force of Will. Interesting. So I think the plan here is to take the Force of Will, leave them with 2 Brainstorms, let them try and dredge a whole chunk of their graveyard, and then we will try and Solitude, killing their Icarid permanently, and, well, that depends if they bring it back, I suppose. They're probably not bringing this one back this turn, are they? They don't have any other dredges, so this one's probably not coming back. But we can get rid of all their bridges if a lot of bridges happen. By all rights, we should lose this game. Right, so now we're getting a Brainstorm. This is going to dredge a Stinkweed Imp. And it's going to dredge some... they got anything else to dredge here? No. Opponent's not hitting great with their dredges, but they've had to find room to fit in all these Dazes and Force of Wills. And that's unfortunately the cost that it's come out for them. Only one bridge from below, I can see there. Okay. A Recruiter of the Guard. I like this one. We're going to go get a plane, so we have white for our Skyclave Apparition. Sorry, not planes, a Scrubland, because that's all this one can get. And we will drop this Recruiter of the Guard. Do we have anything exciting to find with this? That is the question. Alright, let's see what we find here. Kind of a tricky one. None of these are that exciting to me. But I think the Plague Engineer on Zombie might actually help us out if something goes wrong here. The Orcish Bowmasters doesn't work because they're replacing their draw effects, so they still get them all and we don't get to ping. So I think we're just going to go for a Plague Engineer. Orcish Bowmasters can ping itself, but we already have that covered with the Solitude, so we're just going to take this Plague Engineer. So if we can get rid of all their bridges, we can put Plague Engineer on whatever creature type Icarid is. Nightmare, maybe? Horror. So we could do that as an option. Right, so they're going to do that Otherworldly Gaze in response. So if they find a black creature here, they can exile it to the Icarid. They found a Thug and an Imp. I think they'll probably exile the Thug here to get this Icarid in play because they're losing momentum. So let's let them dredge. There's a Narcomoeba. Sure. We don't have to act with our Solitude just yet. They're targeting us with a Cabal Therapy here. Right, I think we're going to evoke this, and I'm not sure what we should get rid of here, whether it's a Plague Engineer or the Swords of Plowshares or the Skyclave. I don't have another one of these in here already. I think we're going to get rid of the Plow, so that if they take our Plague Engineer, we get to deal with their other bits and pieces. So this one, goodbye to Icarid forever. Then our Solitude will die. We'll remove the bridge that they have in there. Otherwise, they'd be able to just get both. They'd be able to see our card and then just get the Solitude. So we may as well get this one bridge out of the way while we can. Because they had the Narcomoeba and the Icarid. So they would have been able to flash this back if we didn't kill the Icarid. Right, so we're going to lose the Plague Engineer because they know we have that. Yeah, goodbye Plague Engineer. Our opponent's hand needs a little bit of work. Thoughtseize, do we care about that? It can snatch this Brainstorm, which will take a decent chunk of their stuff, but how are we going to win this game if we don't just jam our Skyclave Apparition right now? Let's have a think. So they've got 27 cards. They have no dredges in the graveyard right now. Sure, let's go to attacks first and get that going. I think I'm just going to play a 3-mana 2/2. Not exciting. And we have 3 power in play. Our opponent's down a bridge. They're down 2 Narcomoebas and an Icarid. Cabal Therapy targeting themselves. Sure. So they can put in a Dredger and then they can Brainstorm it away. Yeah. So here's the Brainstorm. So we're going to see the Stinkweed Imp go. Put in a Great Troll. Sure. So we're getting a decent chunk of stuff in from our opponent there. If we find Orcish Bowmasters, we can use it to ping down our Recruit of the Guard and get rid of their bridges. Sure, we're getting a couple of zombies here. They named our Swords of Plowshares. Do they care about our Thoughtseize? I doubt it. So, what are we doing here? They're playing the Hogak that we've seen in their hand, aren't they? Sure. We have a Karakas on board, so that's not a problem. So now they're sacking this so they can get more zombies, which is the actual problem here. So our opponents should win this game. They should usually win game 1. Sure. Sky the Grave Troll. What next? Another Hogak. And they've got another Cabal Therapy. They do. So they're going to get 2 more creatures. And they're also going to get rid of that Stinkweed Imp. Oh, Stinkweed Imp's already gone. Yep. Just bridge from below in. They can get rid of our Thoughtseize now. They should play out this Hogak just to force us to tap our Karakas, which makes our potential plays worse. And doesn't cost them anything apart from exiling a few cards they don't even care about. So yeah, here it goes. Okay. So they got 12 power of zombies and a big 8/8. We're going to draw the Bowmasters this turn because it's going to be a turn too late. So we can play the Recruit of the Guard, but we're not going to get there. I think we are just dead here. Sure. The turn we played the Skyclave, we could have maybe Thoughtseized them to take out their Brainstorm or their Cabal Therapy maybe. That might have been a slightly stronger play. I think our opponent's just going to have the inevitability there because we don't have any pressure in this game. Alright, sideboarding though, we're doing okay with the old sideboarding. We got some Leylines, we got some Fairy Macabre, we got a Containment Priest, and Thalia is interesting here as well. So, what are we looking at in our main deck that doesn't look very good? Aether Vial seems quite slow here, although it is part of our kind of engine with the Samwise. So are we supposed to keep that or not? Hard to say. Loran of the 3rd path, probably not going to do anything for us, so that can go away. Is this a game where I want to introduce the Monarch on the initiative? Maybe, because that's actually a way we can clean the game up pretty quick. Skyclave Apparition actually seems bad here because we're not going to be able to kill anything good. They're just going to have tokens in play most of the time. I guess we can put it in off Aether Vial. I don't think that's where I want to be. It's got Samwise, Plows, Thoughtseize. Wasteland's okay. Let's make 3 more cuts here though. The Thoughtseizes are a weird one here. Like, they can collapse your opponent's hand, or they can do nothing. I think I'm going to... Would I rather have 1 Thoughtseize or this 1 Skyclave Apparition where you can shoot for with our Recruiter? I think we're going to go like this and not go into our Thoughtseizes and things. Alright, let's submit like this. Okay, we have a Containment Priest. That's a thing we want, but we also have a Bowmasters, which is pretty useful. But I think we probably want to be looking at Leylines and things here. I'll keep this. We'll put one of these cards on the bottom. I don't really want to draw multiple Karakases. It does take us off the white for a Skyclave Apparition. I think I'd rather have access to both my colours. I don't really want to draw multiple Leylines. So again, there is a cost with what we're doing here. But Thoughtseize to take out one of their few lands. They do have basics in their deck, but if we can hit a Cephalid Colosseum, that's 3 dredge triggers. It just goes away straight away. So that's going to be really handy. I imagine they can fetch a basic here, but I could be wrong. Depends what the hand looks like. Yep, so there's a basic. So our Wasteland is for Cephalid Colosseum. Now our opponent can play around that a little bit. Okay, let's play this Swamp. We do need a little bit of help with our hand here. Stern Dismissal. Sure, they have the answer for our answer, but we can play this in 2 turns. If we can survive that long. Now, our opponent's probably got some sort of counter magic going on over there. An Aether Vial. Okay, we'll play this Swamp out, play an Aether Vial. Start ticking this up, and then next turn we'll redeploy this Leyline in the Void. So our opponent gets this turn to try and dredge. I suspect they're going to Force of Will our Leyline in the Void when we play it. They could daze it, potentially. Right, our opponent's just going to natural discard there. A Scrubland. Do we have a time to play around days here? I don't think we do, considering they're about to dredge 6 with blue mana up. I imagine... Okay, we're just in with the Leyline. That's nice. They got another Stern Dismissal? No. So our Skyclave Apparition is online any minute now. So. Right, so there's a Cephalid Colosseum. We'll definitely be blowing that up when we get a chance. This generally wants to be on 2, I think, in our deck because of Samwise. See if we can actually do some Samwise stuff. We cannot. Step 1, Wasteland Colosseum. Step 2, play a Scrubland. And with the Aether Vial and the Skyclave, I think we don't really want to be just playing a Skyclave out. But we do need to put some pressure on the board. Alright, Misty Rainforest. I think I would like this on 3. Because we have enough mana to work with. If we draw Samwise, we can still cast some stuff. Okay, we're not drawing anything of note here. We'll play out this Plains and pass. We want to save the Polluted Delta, so at least we can get a little bit of value if we find a Samwise. But we're giving our opponents so much time to find stuff, and they are a Brainstorm Fetchland deck. So their ability to find answers is a lot better, which is kind of the draw to the blue builds of Dredge like this, because you do actually get a little bit of agency to try and find a way into the important sideboard cards you need, because the Dredge deck can't play the game with Leyline the Void in play. Like, it can make Stinkweed Imps or whatever, but that's not really going to cut it. They need to be doing their Dredge engine. Are we going to see a hardcast guy? We are going to see a hardcast guy. Alright. The Skyclave Apparition here. Now, part of the problem is if they bounce our guy, they will get a bigger guy than a lot of the creatures in our deck. But we already have a plow. We're going to leave this on 3, I think. Another Leyline of the Void, you say. I'm going to cast this. They've shown us they have bounce spells. If they have Echoing Truth, sure, they can blow them both. They can bounce them, but they don't have any way that's going to destroy them all. They've already used one of their answers to Leyline. So it might just be on the slow road to beat downtown. Which could beat us if we don't draw any action, which is something we're struggling to draw right now. Another land. I'm going to see here another Stinkweed Imp. Another Stinkweed Imp. Let's say no to the Vial. An Orcish Bowmasters. How interested in that am I? Am I realistically going to source to Plowshares this Stinkweed Imp? I think so. We just need to keep attacking here. We can fire off the Orcish Bowmaster on our opponent's turn. They are a Brainstorm deck. Maybe we can get some really sick value. I haven't actually seen Bowmasters yet. They must imagine we have it because we're playing a black deck and, you know, they know what they're doing. Alright, Cephalid Colosseum. A careful study. This feels like an opportune moment to send in the Bowboys. This will give us a bigger creature, so we actually have a pretty sizable clock right now. Let's see what they exile as they do their thing. So they finish resolving this and then we get to allocate our pings. Alright, they've just conceded at that point. Excellent. Powerful sideboard cards are powerful. Do we want to change anything up? Do we want our removal spell, our hand disruption spells for their things that mess up our things? I don't think so. I think we just run it back like this. We could bring in Pithing Needle for Cephalid Colosseum, but I think if their Cephalid Colosseum is up and running and doing stuff, then things have already gone a bit wrong for us. Like, we're looking to leverage our Leylines and other sideboard cards like Fairy Macabre and Containment Priest. Alright, our opening hand looks pretty good to me. I'm going to keep this. We don't have black mana, but we have the vials that can cast our 2-drops. Our opponent's mulligan to 5. So they basically have to mulligan to a Leyline answer because they know we have Leyline, which is an awkward spot to be in, for sure. And even if they do remove our Leyline, we can remove their bridges with a Solitude when the time comes. This is not a land that we can do anything about with our Wasteland. Plague Engineer. That might be useful later on. Let's try an Aether Vial. I doubt this is worth action from our opponent. Their things just have to be used to stop our big haymakers. Obviously, they can't counteract the Leyline with just counter magic, but they can when it comes on the way down later on, if that's the thing we get to do. But if we have other things that they can counterspell, that's what their counter's going to be used for. But I imagine they board out some of their counters in exchange for the bounce spells. Right, so they do have a Stern Dismissal. Like I said, they're going to be mulliganing to a Leyline answer. Otherworldly Gaze in their upkeep in case they can mill a Dredger. Did not find a Dredger. Oh no, sorry, they did. They found a Golgari Troll. Apologies. So let's pop the Graveyard out. What do they hit here? One Bridge and a Cabal Therapy. No follow-up Dredger though. A Leyline of the Void. That's something we can do something with at some point. We'll play the Karakas out in case there's some sort of Hogak we need to deal with. It also represents double source to Plowshares. So there's an Icarid. They don't have anything to remove for this, so it's just going to stay in there. They're not going to dredge anything. They've got a lot of cards to draw up to, but they've got second lands. They can fire off the flip side of the Otherworldly Gaze here. Or they can just do a Cephalid Colosseum. That's also fine. This is just a draw 3, discard 3 here. They're not going to get to dredge with any of these. Okay, so they put 3 dredges in the bin. Exciting stuff. Right, let's keep upping our Aether Vial. So they can get back their Icarid here. It's not the one we wanted to see. Can't actually cast anything of note here. So if they bring back the Icarid, in our opponent's draw step, we can get it back. We can kill this and get rid of a bridge. So we let them draw and do their draw discard. There's 2 bridges in there. Okay, so now is a pretty opportune time to exile. This has to be to the plow though. Does this resolve, or have you got a counterspell for this? Let's get rid of the Icarid once and for all. Get rid of 2 bridges in the process. Oh, 3 bridges. Did I miss one? Oh yes, 3 bridges. Okay, even better. It's been a long weekend. All right. Can't expect me to see all of the cards, right? So yeah. So we've got rid of a decent chunk of our opponent's stuff here. We're going to fire off the Cephalid Colosseum here and do some more dredging. So there's 1 Narcomoeba. There's 1 bridge from below. Yeah. So all their things can only make one zombie now. It's the most they can ever make from sacrificing anything. Let's have a look. No Hogak. Not that they have black creatures. Well, they can turn these into black creatures, but there's no Hogak yet. But we have Hogak covered anyway. Targeting us with a Cabal Therapy. Sure. Be my guest. What are you going to name here? Swords to Plowshares, maybe? It's unlikely to be the Plague Engineer. Okay, they're just going to name the Leyline of the Void. They know we have. That's fair enough. I think we've gone past the Leyline of the Void mattering stage of the game. Alright, so they're going to turn their guy into a 2-2. Not sure if I like... Oh, they know we have the Plague Engineer, so they just want to get rid of that. So that does make sense. I think if we had a worse card, they might be inclined to keep their 1-1, because at least it flies. But the fact they can just take us off of all action is pretty strong there. So now we're in an awkward state of, do we put a counter on this or not? If we draw Orcish Bowmasters, we're going to want to keep this on 2. So, a Solitude. Okay, that's pretty awkward. We're a long ways off of casting that one. I guess you pass the turn. How are we doing for Icarids? No Icarids I can see in there. So, just taking the 4 this turn. We are tripping on our own toes a little bit with the Karakas. It means we couldn't play this land out, so if we draw a land next turn, if these weren't multiple Karakas, we might have been able to actually hardcast a Solitude. Great, so they found an Icarid here for next turn. So we're going to take 4 to 16. All right, they've got an Underground Sea. What are they going to do with that Underground Sea? They might be able to hardcast a Daze. That's the thing that our opponent has access to. They can also do the backside of the Otherworldly Gaze. Do need to find some action. We certainly have action in our deck. A Golgari Thug. Alright, I think we do need to work up our Vial here. If we draw Bowmasters, then that's really annoying. Okay, we drew a Swamp, so at least we have the Bowmasters covered for next time, and we can play a hardcast Solitude next turn. Do we want to Wasteland our opponent's Underground Sea, or do we want to hold up the ability to hardcast this Solitude? I think the Solitude is going to be more important, because it will get rid of one of their guys and give us a life-linking threat. We unfortunately don't get to nab this Solitude with it. Nab this Icarid with our Solitude. Alright, so found an Narcomoeba. No Hogak. Just another Golgari Thug, sure. These can put Narcomovers back on top of their library when they die, which is pretty good. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's half our life total. Not ideal. So this also gives them a zombie as well. So we have to choose with our Aether Vial here. We only have 2 4-drops. We have a lot more 3-drops. And our manas are counted for this turn. So I don't think we put a counter on this one. We want something that we're more likely to put in. An Aether Vial. Okay, that's not one of the things we get to put in, is it? That's Solitude. We don't get to do this with Flash because of the Karakas. So we take out one of the zombies here because that's the most damage. As annoying as that is. We have 3 life available to us. I think our opponent has this game though. We just kind of didn't draw anything good. Which is something I was a little bit worried about with this deck. So we take 3. Right, let's see what their attack was here first. Then we'll do maths. Right, so dredged again. Attack with everything. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we block anything, we gain enough life to go over. So we can choose to block what we want. Do we want to block a Golgari Thug? Probably not. But it would keep our guy alive for a bit longer. Okay, our opponent's looking for something here. Curious what that something is. There's another Narcomover. I'm just doing this so they can check our hand first. Got any more Cabal Therapies left? They do, yeah. So they could try and do this. Okay, yeah. So they're doing this now because in attacks, if our guy trades, then we get rid of the bridges. Or the bridge, I should say. I think our opponent's ground us down here. We did draw pretty terribly this game. But again, I mentioned we have some redundant draws in our deck with these Karakas and Aether Vial was pretty bad after the first one. So there's definitely an error that can happen with our deck in terms of our draws. Let's see what they attack with. The Icarid is definitely attacking. Okay, so do we want to kill one of their guys and remove bridge? I think we probably are priced into doing exactly that, which is awkward. Yeah, so we can block here and take 6, but then they get to put a Narcomover on top of their library, which just gives them... Although, are they dredging next turn? I don't know if they are. So if we block this now, we save ourselves more damage from the Icarid. So I think we do just have to block here and hope that we rip good. So we'll take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because the Icarid will be cancelled out by the life game again. Right, so we get rid of their bridges. Their bridge, sorry. So now they have to win with what's in play. Which is quite an easier amount of stuff to win with, to be perfectly honest. So what is our solution to this game? How many Icarids have they got left? Just the one? You got any black creatures? They do. They've got 1 Stinkweed Imp. Okay. We will not put a counter on this because we have more 3s and we can do a 3 into a 4-drop here. An Arid Mesa. We got nothing. GG's opponent. We bricked pretty hard in that game. But our opponent did just have this inevitably grinding us down. Bit awkward. And I think we're definitely seeing some of the weaknesses of this deck come through already. That's what happens sometimes when you play these high impact cards like the Karakas for our engine and the Leylines and stuff. Sometimes you get them in multiples and they just don't really get you there. Alright, let's go to round 2. Our opponent has revealed a Yorion Sky Nomad for round 2. What does our hand do? Do I think our opponent is going to be on a green or a blue Yorion? Sorry, a blue or a white Yorion. I think they're probably going to be more towards blue. That seems to be more popular at the moment. What does our hand do against some sort of blue deck? Not really much. I think we need to mulligan for some earlier action. This hand is terrible. Okay, yeah. I like this one. So, Passageway goes back, and the Source to Plowshares goes back, I think. The plan here is play Aether Vial, which is very good against blue decks, and then use Samwise, Karakas, Wasteland to lock our opponent out of their mana. Now, our deck's going to have some... Here we go. There's blue mana, like I expected. Our opponent's going to have some amount of interaction with us that we're just going to have to deal with. I think we just want to make sure we get a land underneath us here. So this is going to be a basic plains because you have white pits. We don't have any black. And then let's go for this Aether Vial and see if it sticks. If they've got a counter spell, they might go for it because they're not going to get a chance to counter much else in theory. Alright, we're in. So next turn we have to play out a Karakas, I think. And then the turn after we play the Wasteland. We Wasteland them, we Violin Sam, and then we've got protected with Karakas. And if we need to Wasteland the following turn, we can do exactly that. So we might have our opponent in the squeeze here. Because they're not going to be able to counterspell anything we're doing. Okay, I buy you. Normally these decks are non-black Yorion decks with like Omnath and things. So the black is interesting. Life from the Loam. Sure. Our Wasteland plan is now not great, is probably the best way to describe that. Because they can just Life from the Loam their way through it. Not ideal. Polluted Delta. Is that a thing we care about? I don't think so. I think we're just playing out the Karakas here and passing. Yeah, our opponent has kind of shut down the one thing our hand done just by having the Life from the Loam. So, going to be awkward. Now, we do get to, like, Samwise and do some Ringbearer shenanigans, which can be quite potent. But that's going to be a lot of our turns spent not actually getting anywhere. And our opponent doesn't have to Life from the Loam every turn. They can sort of do it every other turn because they're getting 3 lands, ideally. Alright. This is going to be an Uro. A Leovold. Yeah, that's pretty awkward, isn't it? So now if we bounce this, they get to Karakas. They get to dredge the Life from the Loam if we bounce this with our Karakas. Somewhat awkward. But if they don't have another land in hand, we can at least delay this. But we are giving them another card. I don't think Wastelanding them until they dredge their entire deck is necessarily a viable option either. But we'll see what we draw, and maybe we'll do some stuff. I think we are going to bounce this Leovold as much as I hate to do that. If we're trying to squeeze him on a Wasteland a little bit, then this is unfortunately a thing that we might be just pressured into. They did not dredge their Life from the Loam, which is interesting to me. Solitude. So I think we want to Wasteland our opponent off of black here. And we'll activate and put in our Samwise. Get back our Wasteland. And also get my Ringbearer stuff going. Not that exciting, truth be told. But if this forces our opponent down a Life from the Loam hole, maybe we can get a little bit of value somewhere along the lines. We'll see. Right, they didn't Life from the Loam. How many basics does our opponent have? If they can get basic off this Windswept Heath, that's probably going to be a bit of a pain for us. I don't think we're going to activate this into our turn. We will leave this on 2 because we've got the whole Sam combo going. What are we up to? A Bowmasters. That's quite nice. That makes me slightly reluctant about playing this Wasteland, potentially. Because it means we don't get to do all of the things here. We're kind of locked under our own Wasteland lock in some weird way. Let's see what they want to do here. Take some damage. Do I want to Wasteland our opponent? Or do I want to have Orcish Bowmasters available? Genuinely a tough call. I'm going to play the Wasteland and put the Wasteland in play, and then hold open this Aether Vial. Because our opponent does have Life from the Loam, so I don't think that's how we're going to be winning this game. It's just by Wastelanding our opponent off of it. See what our opponent goes for here. It's going to be an Ice Fang. We can ping that with the Bow Boys, and that'll be pretty strong. They haven't seen any black mana, so they're not necessarily expecting it. See if they go for the Dredge on the Loam. They did go. Collect a Roof. There's no point doing Wasteland shenanigans right now. But if we want it, the option is there. The Tundra. Cast a Brainstorm. Okay, they're reluctant to cast anything. Interesting. Guess we say no still. We have 2 potential things we want to cast on 2, so it's still making bank for us. Play Polluted Delta. That's probably going to throw a cat among the pigeons in terms of what they suspect we're doing. So this guy is very hard for them to block because he's a Ringbearer. So even if they had something like Endurance, it wouldn't make a difference here. And now we're just kind of coasting along with this sort of nonsense. Right, here's the Ice Fang from last time. Passageway who endures on the Karakas. That is an interesting one, isn't it? We can get back our Karakas immediately if we want to. This is fine. We're going to float a white here, and we're just going to let ourselves get a nice shiny new land. So this can already get a swamp. Our opponent hasn't shown us... They will have Wastelands in their deck, though. So I think we just get Plains here. Like, we could have bounced our Sam, got our Karakas back or whatever. But we have another Karakas in hand. The Samwise plan is off right now. But like I've been saying for a little while, it's kind of off when your opponent just has Life from the Loam and a 80-card deck. You're unlikely to be able to grind through it. Especially when they're going to have Uro in there so they can outpace it at some point. Blue and a green. A Life from the Loam, targeting a bunch of lands. Where is our opponent's Brainstorm effects? That's what I want to know. If they put a Leovold in play, we can do some pretty annoying things. Yeah, okay, let's be annoying. Is this May? You may draw a card. Okay, let's put in this Bowmasters. Would you like to draw a card, opponent? What an interesting situation. They are correctly, in my opinion, just saying no to that. We will leave this on 2, I guess. Let's play our Karakas out. Would you like to give me a ping with my guys? We're doing this pre-combat so it can pump our guy if this doesn't... Alright, so let's have a look. Go into attacks. Get a nice bit of damage in. We know our opponent's got a Passageway in hand. Then we play out this other Aether Vial. And then we pass. Alright, we've done a pretty good job of delaying our opponent and just sort of getting in their way. Keeping the Karakas sandbagged. They've shown us the 4th Earlingus as well. So they are white, red, black, blue, green. So they are playing the full 5 colours. Swords to Plowshares on our Orcish Bowmasters. Sure. You've got some other problems to deal with too, though. You're going to see the Leovold again? Sure. It's fine. We've got the Ring Bearer shenanigans as well right now. Green and white. A Passageway on our Karakas. Sure. Going to get a Scrubland this time. Then we're going to get a basic swamp of this as well, since we're at it. We've got 6 cards in hand. We haven't given them an opportunity to do any counter magic and stuff right now. So I imagine they have a counter spell. So the first one is the one that's on 2. I think we take this one up. And we also take the other one up. Skyclave Apparition, you say. This gets us 1 more point of damage, but they get a card. How do I feel about that exchange? No, I think I'm okay with just attacking for 2 here. We can take our opponent off black mana if we want to, but again, we know they have a Life from a Loam. I think I would just rather have the ability to hardcast Solitude around something like a Daze, which I don't expect our opponent to have, but you never know. Could have a Spell Pierce in their deck, which means keeping extra lands might be useful for later on, but we'll see. Okay, so they have a Karakas of their very own. So they can start bouncing our Sam, but that doesn't help them out a huge amount here. Let's see what they're doing. They're putting Yorion to hand. Okay, so they're assembling their Yorion Blink shenanigans. Let's put this in. See if we can get rid of their Trist. Their Leovold Emissary Trist. They can bounce their own guy. Or they can plow. They're ephemerating their Leovold. Right, let's try and go for the win here. 3. Oh, they can bounce this. So it'll be 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, it will be lethal. I've done my maths here. Do we Wasteland their Karakas now? I think we do. We've given them a lot of cards, but we're trying to win the game in a second. So they either have to use the Karakas now and bounce their guy or not. So floated 1 white. I imagine this gets counterspelled. But here we are. Right, Force of Will. Force 1 whole point of damage through. Ephemerating this doesn't feel that special to me. Keeps it alive. But, alright. So we're definitely putting the 1 up to 2. Are we putting the 3 up to 4? I think... I've got 6 cards. I'm just going to counterspell. It's tough here, isn't it? I think we are going to say yes to this one. This means Plowshares is uncountable, for example. Alright, we drew a land, so that was a brick. Not exciting. So we can attack with both of these and force 1 point of damage through to our opponent, which means this will be lethal next turn on its own. I will take that. So they get a 0-0 here. So we're going to hold up this Marsh Flats now to represent something for our opponent, I think. So they get to blink their Leovold if they want to. Not sure they do. Okay. They're doing this because the Leovold is on blocks anyway, and it puts another card in the graveyard rather than leaving it exiled. A Brainstorm. Let's tap this. See if they concede. Just testing your opponent. Just testing you. Nice bit of gamesmanship there. Can I deal with our Samwise? It's unblockable. It's gone. Alright, we need to find another creature. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. Okay, this game is very much slipping away from us. We did let our opponent draw 1 card from the Leovold trigger before we fired off our Solitude, which might have been a mistake earlier on. Now, chances of them having Forceful blue card in hand already is pretty high in my opinion, considering they weren't really casting anything. But even so, would have been a cleaner play. Noble Hierarch, that can block. Right, so we're going to put these up to... We're going to put this one up to 3, and we're going to leave this one on 4. So This one is 1 on 2, so we say yes, we have uncounterable Recruiter, and we say no to this one, so we have uncounterable Palace Jailer, and stuff like that. Or the other guy. Or we can just draw a Marsh Flats. Now our opponent gets to make an Uro next turn. I think we are getting towards the end of the game. Our opponents use a little bit more of their clock than us, but not by much, so we're going to let them go through the motions a little bit and give ourselves a bit more breathing room to think in the next round. If we can get like a minute or 2 minutes ahead of our opponent clockwise from this game, that would be helpful for extra breathing room for thinking. I wonder if they're attacking for 4. I think they probably are attacking for 4 and then playing their Uro. I think they want to play their Uro first to make sure nothing happens to it. Well, no attacks. Very cagey. No Uro. Right, they're pretty scared here of something that we could have. Right, so 3 and 4. These are both fine numbers. We will leave them at these. We will thin 1 land out of our deck in the hopes we can draw something good here. Let's get the Scrubland. And a Mishra's Bauble. Not very helpful. We can draw a card on our opponent's turn. Our opponent will get a draw off step out of this though. But we're just trying to find the final points of damage. So I think it's worth taking the 1 card here. Because we get 1 card per turn. So that includes 1 in our turn, 1 in our opponent's turn. It's not like the Hull Breacher, which says the first card that's drawn in the draw step. So similar effects, slightly different. Oh dear. A Solitude. Yep. Okay, our opponent's going to be able to gain a big chunk of life here, but maybe we draw something useful here. A Solitude of our very own. Interesting. This has to be useful for us, otherwise. Right, just the Solitude coming in for 4. How important is that? If we kill it, they gain 3. And then we have a guy, but they have an Uro. We're trying to just draw a Recruiter of the Guard. Do we let ourselves take 4 lifelink damage here? I don't think so. I'm not expecting this to resolve. They got a load of mana they didn't play before because they were holding up a Force of Will, is what I got the impression they were doing. Well, no, we're in here. Okay, so we will get rid of the Solitude. Our opponent gets to draw more cards. They're Leovold. Pretty gross. So they only gain 3 instead of 4. We don't get attacked. We have a attacker that can get through anything but their Uro, and we're hoping to draw a Recruiter to get rid of the Uro. So we can uncounterably put a Palace Jailer into play, which should be pretty good. Right, blue-green. This feels like the start of an Uro. It's kind of gross that our opponent is a 5-color deck with all non-basics that we couldn't have punished properly with the Wasteland early on. Even though we had a Wasteland every turn, it wouldn't have been good enough. We had to pivot into other stuff. That's a bit gross. Alright, so we're going to leave these where they are for the reasons we mentioned before. No. And no. Going to draw a land, I think, this turn. Feels like we're going to draw a land. A Palace Jailer, you say? That's one of the things I wanted. We don't get to draw more than 1 card each turn. Alright, let's put in the Palace Jailer. Monarch, not great for us, truth be told. We'll exile this Uro. Our opponent gets to draw another card. And then I guess we have to hold back on blocks, which is a bit gross. We don't get to draw a card because of the Leovold. Solitude, yep, that's pretty good. We lose our Solitude. This turn we lose the Monarch. Yep. And then they get their Uro back. So our opponent's got this game. We couldn't quite get there, and our opponent's deck has got so much more inevitability than ours. So we're always going to have a rough time. But we're going to scrape out a few more minutes, and our opponent's deck isn't the quickest, so if we can win game 2, they might not be able to win a game 3 in time. Let's see how we fare. Undermountain Adventurer. Okay, so this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So they don't have us dead on the next turn still. But we're seeing more cards from our opponent's deck, which is important. This makes me think they've got a Green Sun Zenith package where they're using Undermountain Adventurer as a one-off that they can go and find if they need the initiative. Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. It's going to be a Green Sun. Okay, they're just going to blink with their Yorion here. So this is going to give them an additional 9 damage. Alright. I think that's going to be more than enough, but we're going to let them scrape another minute off their clock while they click through this. Yep, they've got a big life linker, they've got loads of life, they've got everything you could possibly want. Thoughtseize, let's get some more information about our opponent's hand. Yeah, I just want to see the cards in your deck, please. That's all I want to do. Yeah, so there's a Green Sun Zenith and it's a Fairy Time Raveler. Okay, that's more information. Alright, 5-color Yorion Zenith deck. We don't have any way of punishing their basics in a particularly strong fashion, which is a bit awkward. This is pretty good against Green Sun Zenith and all their Ephemerate shenanigans, so we're going to have the Containment Priest. The Thalia can slow down some of what they're doing. It's not ideal. I don't think we want Leylines for the Uro. It's kind of awkward. A Fairy Macabre that we can shoot for to get rid of Uro is probably a bit better. So we've got 4 cards we want in here. What do we want out? Plague Engineer. We didn't really see much that Plague Engineer was going to be good against. Certainly didn't see anything for the round of the third path. I like the initiative stuff and the Monarch. It's an early way we can snowball a game. Thoughtseizes are probably useful to collapse our opponent's hand in certain ways. I think we need these to play around counter spells. Are the Mishra's Baubles too cute with the Samwise here? It's some early card advantage, but if we're bringing in something that's going to make it harder to cast, like the Thalia, I think we just want to do this. Our opponent is going to win the game at a certain point, and we need to try and win the game before then, basically. They just have so much inevitability because they draw so many cards in that deck. Alright, I like this one. I think this goes and gets us a Swamp. And cast the Aether Vial rather than the Thoughtseize here. Okay, so between Wasteland and Thalia, maybe we can tax our opponent enough. We also have Bowmasters to possibly mess with the Brainstorm and just throw ourselves massively ahead. These are things I would like to do. Right, they're cracking this. It's either going to be an Abundant Growth or a Ponder this turn, I imagine. It could be Green Suns, actually, for Dried Arbor. Birds of Paradise. Right, I was wrong, sure. We don't get to do all the things we want to do here. We might get to kill the Birds of Paradise, though. So, what are we looking at here? I don't really want to play into our opponent's Wasteland type stuff. But if we want to... I think we do want the Karakas here, though. Because we're going to want this in play the next turn. I think we are just firing off the Bowmasters right now and seeing if we can ping down their Birds of Paradise. Our opponent's a bit more liberal about passing through the turn now. They're pretty aware of the time left on the round, I think. A Green Sun Zenith. Alright, our opponent might be showing weakness here. If they don't play a land, we're going to go straight for this tropical island. Alright. Yes, we would like to put a counter on this. Okay, so step 1 is Thoughtseize our opponent. Do we care about these things? Prismatic Ending is probably the one we care about most in this situation. And then we're going to play this Wasteland out. And Wasteland is Tropical Island. We're going to plough this. Alright, they're scooping it up. So we're going to plough this. We're going to play the Thalia. They see the writing on the wall. Alright, that's how we win this game. Like I said, if we can get in underneath them early enough, we can win the game. Going to be a little bit difficult on the draw, but I think our sideboard is probably about where we want to be. This hand is not that exciting, to be honest. But it does have the Bowmasters, which I think is one of our best tools. So possibly we can collapse their hand with the Wasteland. Maybe we get to do the Wasteland twice, but it's so hard to do that without the Vial here, right? Because how are we going to pay for our guy? Okay, it's got a basic land, but it doesn't cast any of their turn 1 spells apart from the Plough. But we don't really care about the Plough right now. I think we play out our Karakas, so we have access to Swords to Plowshares this turn if they play some sort of Mana Dork or something that we care about. And then, okay, a Birds of Paradise. We're going to say no to Birds of Paradise. Right, so I think we'll play out this Scrubland. And we're going to go for a Bowmasters if our opponent does a creep. Because our opponent's got like 1/1s that we actually want to kill, like the Hierarchs and the Birds and stuff, we're not just going to play this straight away. Like if our opponent casts a Brainstorm, then sure, we'll fire off a Bowmasters. But the main plan with this is Spell Seeker, enter the battlefield. Okay, so here's a 1/1 they can get with our Bowmasters here. Let's see what they find. Ephemerate. Okay. Let's see if our Bowmasters resolves. They didn't get a blue card, which might mean they already have a Force of Will blue card, or they might not have a Force of Will. Right. We take out the Spell Seeker. So that's goodbye to the Ephemerate engine right now. And then it's over to us. Right. We will Wasteland our opponent off of Underground Sea, I think, here. And we'll cast our Samwise. Get back our Wasteland. I would like our Orc to be a ring bearer, please. That's the thing they're least likely to remove on this board, I think. Next time we get to make the same play if we want to. If our opponent misses a land here, we might be in business. So much better when they don't have the life from the loam. Passageway, Eternal Witness. Alright, they're probably going to get back their Underground Sea, I would imagine. Yeah, there it is. Okay, not ideal. So this turn is an interesting one to navigate for us, I think. We have a decent chunk of options here. What are we going for? I don't think we want to kill this. Maybe do it in response to the Ephemerate to try and fizzle it. That seems like a useful thing to do. I imagine they probably won't. Right, let's attack with these two creatures. Right, so we're getting the damage in here. We have the Solitude to kill the Witness when we want to. Does that mean we're just going to play Recruit of the Guard, or we're going to hold up the Wasteland here? I think this means we're playing Recruit of the Guard. Which of these is going to be the quickest route to us winning the game? Tough to say. Probably the Passageway Seer on this board. Initiative is a hell of a drug. So we are letting our opponent untap with 4 mana, potentially. But we've got their Ephemerate play covered. And we're happy just to send these guys in turn after turn into a 2-1. So they might try and block and then Ephemerate so they can soak up some damage. Just casting Ephemerate. Alright, if we're going to evoke this, pitching the Samwise. Goodbye, Eternal Witness. This is the Ephemerate play covered. Do you have another one? If you do, that means you're not making the Spellseeker this turn. Right. No Witness, no Ephemerate. So this goes straight into the graveyard and fizzles. Excellent. We have 5 power in play with a Passageway Seer on the way. There's Underground Sea. We can just Wasteland and Samwise. That's the other option. I think we want to go and get a Scrubland now. Alright, here we go. Here's our Scrubland. They're representing endurance here. Right, let's see if we can bounce our Samwise effectively. Are they going to waste the removal spell on our Samwise here? They are not. Right, let's take them off of blue mana. Let's play Samwise. Let's get back our Wasteland. We will choose our Orc to continue being the ring bearer. Alright. We're doing not too shabby. Just keeping our opponent off balance enough right now. Alright, so we got the win. Let's go to round 3 and see if we can pick up another one. Like I said, if we can get in underneath them enough, we can get there. The Samwise plan actually looked good. This is the first time I've actually seen it look good. So that's exciting. It did take a little bit of effort, and our opponent didn't really cast much in the way of early spells, which certainly helped us out. But here we are. Let's go to round 3. Our opening hand requires some more mana, and we're on the play, so I think we have to mulligan this one. This one is a much tastier hand. I will keep this, and I think I'm going to bottom the Karakas here and just play on basics. Let's just get a basic plains and just look like ordinary, boring old Death and Taxes. With our plains into Aether Vial. And then maybe our Bowmasters will come as a surprise to our opponent. Although we're probably going to Thoughtseize them before that happens. Probably just going to be playing on... Okay. City of Traitors. We're looking at a Painter or a Prison deck. Could be Initiative. But that's kind of Prison adjacent in some respects. Alright. I think that changes what we're doing with our Bowmasters here. I think we want to use the Bowmasters to stop our opponent from Fable the Mirror Breakering effectively here. If we put 1 point of damage on their token, they can't attack with it and gain a treasure without losing it. So I'm going to do that. So if they want to trade their token for my token, I'm okay with that. They're going to say no to the draw trigger, I would imagine. The draw discard trigger. But this also means they can't just do 1 and be like, well, we can take 1 ping on the shame or whatever. So it kind of constricts their options. Alright, so they get their 1 little treasure. And then we get the trade-off that we mentioned we were happy to do. So our opponent can make a 4-drop right now, which would definitely be scary. If they've got another land, then we could be doing something like a Cage Chaos Adventure with this turn. A Solitude, pitching the round of the 3rd path. What is this going to kill? What are they going to target with this? Surely not the army token. They are targeting the army token. Wowzers, trousers. Sure, that's a pretty good exchange for me. Alright, our opponent does not want to get wastelanded. That's the message I'm getting. Alright, Cavern of Souls. Yep. If they're going to cast an initiative creature, I don't understand that previous play. Because this is going to get you a land anyway. Okay. That's an odd play to me. But I can't see their whole hand. Maybe something in their hand makes it make more sense. Alright, over to us. Bump up our Aether Vial. And we have a land ready for the Passageway next turn. So I think this turn we are doing a cheeky Thoughtseize. We get rid of their other threat. Get out of here. This Bowmaster is not doing anything right now though. Right, so our opponent's Fable is going to flip now. But it won't be able to activate yet. So we'll save ourselves a little bit of hassle on that front. Does mean if they play a creature though, we can be in trouble. Right, 7, 8, 9. We are going to take this because I'd rather have more creatures to block next turn than this turn because we're not blocking the trample guy. We are going to Palace Jailer it away. There's Lotus Petal that they got off the top of their guy. There's Plains we knew about. Alright. I will thin my deck slightly since we're definitely getting a thing anyway. So we're going to put counter on this. We got lots of 3-drops we'd be happy to cast here. We're obviously going to draw a 2-drop now, but we did not draw a 2-drop, sure. So we're going to Scrubland. Try out this little guy for size. Goodbye, Chaos Adventurer. Hello, the Monarch. Maybe we can draw a 3-drop off of our Aether Vial. Off of our Monarch for the Aether Vial. Sorry. Okay. What do we got? Another land. The joys of playing non-blue decks. Or decks that don't have Favor of the Mirror Breaker. Right, so we're going to lose some damage here. Yep, we knew this was going to happen. We do need to get the initiative. Otherwise, that's just going to rattle through and kill us. If we have removal here, we can be in trouble. Okay, so they're copying this guy. So we've got 2 attackers. They get 2 treasures. Pretty good. We get blocks. We have to block both of them, so we can't save one back for getting the initiative. Oh, I've done this the wrong way around. Oh, I was supposed to kill the token that turn. I've completely punted that. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yikes, that was a bit of an error, that one. And that's going to cost us dear, I suspect. We're going to leave this on 3. Because that's... did we leave this on 3 or did we go up to 4? Then we got to 4, actually. Okay. Let's see what we get here. Anointed Peacekeeper. I don't think we're doing much for this Marsh Flats. We'll play it out anyway. Okay, we need to draw the 4-drop we have. Okay, we drew a Bowmasters. That's not nothing. If we'd have blocked correctly last turn, when we wouldn't be dead right now. But, opponent might be able to kill us off here. Any creature is lethal here. Well, any of the creatures in their deck feel pretty great. Okay, so there's the Anointed Peacekeeper. So it's going to come in. This makes it cost 2 more, but we can still put our Bowmasters in. We're kind of hoping they name Bowmasters and leave our Aether Vial alone. We're going to name Aether Vial, aren't we? I feel it in my bones. I think that's the correct name here. Oh, they named the Bowmasters, sure. This doesn't matter because we cast it for 4. Right, so now we cast this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Playing this guy. So if we hadn't have made that horrible block in the previous turn, they'd be attacking us with just a 3/3 right now. You are already dead. Very good. Right, so I'll block here and here. And we're still drawing 2 cards a turn. Maybe. What have they got? Oh dear, oh dear. Chalice of the Void for 2. Okay, we don't care about that. We might do, I guess, but that ship has sort of sailed. So we could have kept a creature on board if we'd have blocked correctly. This goes up to 5 for the purposes of Solitude. Orcish Bowmasters. When we cast this, it just goes into Chalice, so that's not very helpful. We play the Scrubland out, and then we draw a Solitude. Let's draw this card. It was an Aether Vial. Alright, so we are dead. If we'd have blocked differently there, we still lose this game, but it was definitely an error to block the wrong one. Alright, bit closer than maybe I thought it was going to be, but it's a bit awkward. So, what do we have for this matchup? We don't really have a lot, do we? Are we bringing in any of these things? I don't think any of them do anything for us. Like, Stony Silence has a little bit of text. It stops treasures and it stops their artifact mana. But I'm not really convinced that's good enough. I think we just have to run it back, which doesn't feel amazing. But on the play, maybe we can punch a little hole with the Thoughtseize, get him in the old Wasteland lock. This does have the Wasteland lock, but It's very slow. I don't think we can keep a hand that slow. Okay, this is a lot faster as a hand. We'll keep this. What are we going to get rid of? We kind of got the lock here. Is it greedy to throw back the Marsh Flats? Probably. Is it the Karakas? That gives us our lock. We can't get rid of a Source of Plowshares. Maybe it's a Thoughtseize. Yeah, that's awkward. I'd like to keep a Thoughtseize, but... Alright. We will start off with... How much do we want to play around Blood Moon? That is the question. I think we just want to get basic planes here. It does get awkward if we draw a black card, though. Maybe we're on the Scrubland train. If they play a Blood Moon, then that's awkward, but we might be able to do something about it with flashing in a guy and blocking it, so it's not the end of the world. We've got some basics in our deck, and we can play Recruiter into the initiative guy. Alright, a Chrome Mox from our opponent. What are they imprinting? Wear Tear. So they've got a nice dual-coloured Chrome Mox there. Very tasty. Loran of the Third Path. Alright, that's terrible for us. That gets rid of our ability to play the game I wanted to play. So now we're probably Mishra's Baubling here. See what's on top of the library, get more information about what we're going to do with our turn. A Fury. I don't really want to wasteland my opponent. I could play this Karakas out. So I kind of want to get the value with the Sam here. Maybe that's greedy. Alright. We can afford to take a little bit of damage here. I don't really want to bounce this. Although, do I care if they bounce it? If we bounce it. Like, we don't have other artifacts. Alright, another Plow is pretty nice. So maybe we want to play the Plow? I'm not sure. Elemental. Sure. We can take this damage. I think I will bounce this just to get it out of play. We're not planning on playing the artifacts or enchantments in the near future. Oh, I get a free card here. That's exciting. Aether Vial, okay. We immediately draw an artifact. It was always going to be that way. Right, let's get our Wasteland off. And we'll take out the one that's on human, I think. This is not ideal, but it's a game plan. Alright. We're going through a lot of hoops to make a... okay, the Loran's gone. We're going through a lot of hoops to make a Life in the Loam for ourselves here. Or a Ramanat Excavator, I guess. Is probably the closer. And it's a worse version because it has to be a thing that goes. But again, we can hit other things like creatures at some point. But we'll see. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Okay. There's the clock. What land are they going to get here? We know they've got a Fury in hand. So taking out the thing on Elemental was probably quite useful. Or do we take out the Ancient Tomb? Hard to say. We're going to be ploughing this in our opponent's turn. Okay, so we get a Wasteland. We Wasteland away. Is it the Ancient Tomb to just strip the amount of mana they have, or do we want to hit the colours so they can't cast the Fury? I think it's the colours. 1, 2... So they've already have 3 mana, so they just need 2 more mana if we take out the Wasteland. If we take out the Ancient Tomb. But maybe that'll buy us another turn. It's a really tough decision. I think we'll take out the Tomb. Then we'll deploy this Aether Vial. Now that we know that the Loran of the Third Path is exiled to the Solitude. Let's see what they do with their Undercity trigger. If they put it on this... Right, so now we plow in response. Okay, now we just need to find a way to get the initiative. They got another guy. Fail Mirror Breaker. That's a pretty good one. Yikes. Right, Aether Vial. Let's have some counters on you. A snow-covered plains, you say? That's not very helpful, is it? Do I want to plow our opponent's Goblin Shaman token to stop them getting another mana? Let's see. I think we probably do want to plow it, as sad as that is. See what they draw and discard here. A Chrome Mox. Alright. Let's just say no to this. I think they're digging for... I guess if they really wanted the mana, they would have kept the Chrome Mox. Alright, we still have another plow, so we've got a follow-up. Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Sure, this gives them another card off the archives. We'll just plow this now to be efficient. Okay, our opponent's got a lot of life for us to get through, and we don't really have a lot of threats and stuff in the pipeline right now. It does feel like we're a bit light on business sometimes. Yeah, right, so we'll put this trigger on the stack. Gonna get ourselves a Scrubland. Let's put a counter on this. What have you got for us, deck? A useless card. Alright. Our opponent is going to win this game. I think it's just a matter of time at this point. Their deck's got much better card selection than us, and they're obviously into the Undercity now, so they get the Karakas Adventurer. I suppose we can draw... What can we draw here? Palace Jailer doesn't really help here. I can do after a while, but yeah, this is real bad news for us. And their Saga's flipping, so next turn they get to make a copy of Karakas Adventurer, and that is exactly 13 damage coming in. Unless we can interfere with it somehow. So we're going to need multiple draws in a row to even stand a chance of continuing to play the game. And then we're going to have to try and win the game at some point, which feels borderline unimaginable right now. What does a 2-1 guy do? Literally nothing. Okay. Yeah, we got absolutely smashed. Our deck has some issues, I think. A lot of the cards we're playing aren't intrinsically powerful. Like this card, for example, is a 2-mana 2-1. That's outclassed in every creature matchup in the format, which is awkward. You're basically playing it for the recursion ability. And sometimes that's going to be good and sometimes it isn't. So, not convinced on the old Samwise yet, but we're only 3 rounds in. Let's crack on to 4 and see if things change. On the play for round 4, we have a 1-lander Aether Vial hand. I'm tempted. I'm really tempted on this one. Like, only one other land is required for us to actually play a functional game of Magic the Gathering for a few turns. I'm going to keep it. We're on the play so we can get our Aether Vial down before Daze becomes a thing that we have to worry about. So, alright, we're in with the Aether Vial. So, even if we get Wastelanded, at least we have the Vial. Okay, Plains, we're not getting... sorry, an Island. We're not getting Wastelanded. Oh, we might be getting comboed off, though. So, Lotus Petal. We're going to get... Okay, I thought we were going to get Show and Tell immediately there. That's what I suspect our opponent's playing. Maybe the Karakas has given them pause for thought. Yes, let's put counter. I bet we're going to draw another Karakas. We did not draw another Karakas. We do only have 1 mana though. Alright. Bit of an awkward one. But we knew this could happen. We do get to start doing Bowmasters shenanigans soon and all sorts. So. Alright. Scalding Tarn. Bowmaster's pretty good against a Grizzlebrand. So that's always nice for us. A Wasteland. An interesting choice about whether or not we play that one, but there we go. We go to our end step. I think our opponent might fire off. Oh no, I didn't fire off anything. Interesting. I was expecting them to fire off. Oh, here we go. Let's put this in. This could be a pretty big game. Ping our opponent for 1. If they kill this, we can flash in Samwise and get it back, which is a pretty nice play. We found ourselves a pretty good threat. That's what our opponent goes for here. A Scalding Tarn. Cracking a Scalding Tarn. A Ponder. Alright, more Orcish Bowmasters triggers. I guess the reasoning is if they can put something really scary into play right now, maybe that'll beat us. So 5, 6. I think I'm going to play this. Just to have a guy in play. Okay. Who's going to be our Ring Bearer? Let's make the token a Ring Bearer. We will not add a counter to this. We'll put the Bowmasters in now because this is more damage. Alright. So we've got Karakas. We've got a Wasteland. I think we're going to Wasteland them off of one of their red sources to make it harder for sneak attack to happen. But we've got a decent chunk of permanents. Oh no, we have 6 exactly, right. Yeah. Sneak attack. Sure. What are they going to put in? If it's an Emrakul, we can't kill it. There's an Emrakul. And we do lose all of our permanents here. Okay. They have another Lotus Petal. So they can just put this in now. Alright. The other option there was to pick up our Samwise. Right, so they're just going to put it in again. We don't get a window where we can stop this, unfortunately. But we at least get to waste their petal before they take all of our permanents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. Our opponent's playing a very high power level deck compared to what we're doing. We're kind of trying to do a fair grind. Our opponent's only on 2. So if we can find run around a land into some spells, maybe we'll get there. But we have to make our opponent not draw a sneak. They might have something like a Grizzlebrand as well. Step 1, we have a Plains. We can source Plowshares, some creatures that aren't Emrakul. But that's what we're working with right now. We also get into an annoying, awkward situation of do we Wasteland our opponent's red source if we draw a Wasteland. We're in that awkward situation right now. Or we can hold this and try and cast a threat, because we only have 3 drops right now. Oh, jeez. This is tough. I think we just have to try and buy ourselves some turn by getting rid of the Volk. It is awkward. Don't get me wrong, it's awkward. The exact thing I was worrying that we'd have to choose came up immediately. Alright, no red source. That's something. I probably might just have some counter spells in hand, since we played in a way that didn't really enable counter spells due to the Vial. So what is our plan here? Draw a land, play a Plague Engineer, ideally, because it attacks for 2 damage. Let's crack this, get ourselves a Swamp. Let's play a guy that attacks for 2. The other option here is just to keep holding up the Karakas and just sort of making sure that we don't die to a sneak attack. But if we don't draw land, then what are we doing? Right, there's the island. So if we recruit with the guard, we can get a Solitude, and that gives us something that we can actually kill. Ooh, that might be better though. That's better. I think we pass here. This is a Bowmasters around days in our opponent's end step, or in response to something. I think if they find a cantrip, they're liable to cast it. Green. Okay, that's interesting. Go Gadget Bow Boys. A Force of Will here takes a life off of them. Alright, they didn't have anything. So we did somehow manage to get there. Alright. I would like a Containment Priest. I would like these Thalias. I would also like this Emrakul. These Duresses and this Pithing Needle, also pretty useful. Swords to Plowshares. How useful are you? Questionable at best. Plague Engineer. Rubbish. Are we doing a Samwise plan this game? I don't think that's going to be very useful. We're boarding in Thalias, so probably want to board out the Baubles. I don't think Samwise is going to be that useful. I don't really like these vials that much. They're okay for blocking some of their counter spells, but I think we're going to trim one of them because we really don't want to draw 2 because we need to have business. Skyclave Apparition can hit sneak attack if they play out, so that's why it's keeping it there. Palace Jailer is something that we can put in with an Aether Vial that can kill an Emrakul. Can happen. Will it happen? Probably not, but it's something. Swords to Plowshares can kill Grizzlebrand and the other ones. I think that's probably better than having any of these things. Stony Silence can shut down some of their petals, but that's not very, very exciting to me either. I think we're just going to submit like this. Alright, we have a Duress and a Wasteland. We can recruit the guard for a Thalia in a few turns. I think this is acceptable. We don't have a good curve in this deck to play Wasteland, if that makes sense. Like, we're not... Like, if we don't have Vial, the Wasteland's a little bit awkward, I think, because we're trying to cast 3 drops today. Maybe I'll think about that more in the wrap-up at the end. Okay, let's jam this down. Get ourselves a Duress going. I don't believe our opponent would bring in Blood Moon in this matchup. They did bring in a Magus of the Moon, interesting. We've got that covered anyway because we have the Solitude, so it's not really an issue for us. There's an Ancient Tomb, they're just going to slam the Magus and hope it does something. Sure. Do I like my opponent not having blue mana? Yes, I do. So I'm not going to kill this. I'm going to take 2 from it first. And then we'll kill it with the Solitude. Now, maybe we're supposed to wait. Maybe we're not supposed to wait in case our opponent draws counter magic. But they're showing us they didn't, so that's nice. I should have snow-covered plains. Do we even need to Solitude this now? I don't think so. I think we can just drop a little cheeky recruit of the guard. And find something of note. What would I like here? Bowmaster is going to be pretty good. Thalia, pretty useful. Containment Priest, that's quite a nice one. Let's have that one. Is this a turn we have to Solitude before I draw another card? There's a Trop. There is a Show and Tell. Interesting. They're putting a creature. We just get to Solitude it straight away. These come in at the same time, so it doesn't stop it. Sure. Let's put in our Solitude. Get rid of the Atraxa. Let's see what they draw. Okay. Omniscience, Show and Tell, Fury, Scalding Tarn. Quite a lot of options here. Our opponent is off blue mana still. So I'm incentivized to not block this Magus of the Moon, which is kind of weird. Wish I had some sort of flicker so we could just fly over. But maybe we'll recruit her for something that can't block. So they choose Scalding Tarn. They chose Fury, so no receiving Drifter. They chose a Brainstorm and a Sneak Attack. and a show and tell. Alright. So, what is our plan here? I think we'll Recruiter of the Guard here. What would I like? I think we might need a Solitude. Although they're going to play Sneak Attack, and then we are going to have to Loran the third path away the Sneak Attack. That's probably where we're at. We don't really care if they Sneak Attack in a Fury for one time. It's going to kill a bunch of our stuff, but it is what it is. They might Fury down their own guy here, because we're just letting them not have access to blue mana. But they can Sneak Attack in a Fury. That will kill our board and bash us for a decent chunk. But then they lose their Sneak Attack and then back down to makes. Oh, okay, they have an island. 5 mana. Oh, they're just hard casting the Fury. Yeah, that's pretty good too. Yeah, it's gone pretty awkward for us. We have to take this damage. And Samwise the Stouthearted. This can flash in and kill the Magus, which is certainly not unhelpful. It's going to be a thing we're going to have to do, I think. And then we can also flash in the Containment Priest. We don't get any value with our Samwise, unfortunately. There's the Scalding Tarn. Here's the Sneak Attack. Yep. We got a monster as well. Just the Fury. Okay, so we don't get to do anything that we want to do. I guess we just take 6. Flash in our Containment Priest. Right, so I'm going to Sneak Attack in an Atraxa. Yep. What have they got there? A Brotherhood's End. Another Atraxa. Another Sneak Attack. A whole bunch of nonsense for us to deal with. So they're only going to get to keep one of the petals. I'm going to keep this land. I'm going to keep the Force of Will. Yeah, I think we could probably scoop this one up here. It's got too many resources for us to get ahead. I just don't think it's worth us playing that one out. Alright. Maybe we should have killed off the Magus sooner, but I think our opponent still overwhelms us because what they're doing there is just intrinsically very powerful compared to what we can do. Yep, let's just resubmit. Maybe we'll get them with a show and tell and put in our own Emrakul. Yeah, this sounds good. Thoughtseize into lots of Bowmasters. That is the more powerful half of our deck, in my opinion, than the Samwise stuff. Put one into 6, makes our Thoughtseize a little bit tastier. Going to 5 makes our Thoughtseize a lot tastier. You do see a lot less Grizzlebrands these days due to the fact that we are living in an Orcish Bowmaster world. I think I'm going to get a basic Swamp because we just want to cast black spells this game. And at some point we'll draw some white mana. What are we looking at here? Brotherhood's End, Force of Will, some Spirit Guide. Nothing too exciting here. Alright, we'll take the Force of Will here. I don't mind making them 2 for 1 themselves, but I want to get on board with the Bowmasters. If we draw a land, I'm tempted to Wasteland. We did not draw a land. Right, so we know our opponent doesn't... Well, our opponent's unlikely to have anything here. I think we just fire this guy off right now. Put our opponent in a spot where their cantrips are shut off rather than trying to catch them out. Because they're not going to be drawing an Island Cycler, sure. So not really going to be drawing much in the way of blue card into cantrip. Right, so now we're going to get Brotherhood's Ended here. Sure, that's a good trade up for us. We did not draw a land, but we have show and tell covered quite nicely. We'll pass. So now our opponent might be able to do a cantrip, so we're going to save this Bowmasters, try and mess with our opponent that way. They're probably suspicious because we didn't fire off our Wasteland, but our best win condition in this game right now is our opponent casting show and tell. This is a funny old world. Right, there's a Wasteland. Let's get rid of the Ancient Tomb here. This means our opponent is more likely to cast a show and tell than a sneak attack. We'll attack both of these. And I'll jam the Bowmasters down just to get some more damage going. So now we've got a pretty fast clock of 4 a turn. So it's 3 turn clock. If our opponent finds the mana to cast a show and tell, our Karakas here, and then we Wasteland them off this turn. Sure. So like I said, if we didn't have the Emrakul in hand, I would probably hit the Volcanic Island instead of the Ancient Tomb. But purely because we had the Emrakul in hand, and we also had all these Bowmasters covering any cantrips, I felt if we hit this, the only thing they're going to be able to cast is a show and tell, which wins us the game with the Emrakul. Alright, we are 2-2 going into the final round looking for the positive record. It seems to me that a lot of the time the best thing our deck does is just Bowmasters, but it is one of the best things to do. Right, let's play the final game. Arabian hand looks pretty good to me. 2 Aether Vial is a bit awkward, but I can live with that. Opponent's mulligan to 6. A basic forest. Crashing footfalls suspended. Okay. That means that we're supposed to Thoughtseize this turn. Shardless Agent. Get out of here. That makes more rhinos. We don't want that. Okay. We're a few turns till the rhinos hit. Scoring turn. They're going to get us in our upkeep here with the ice. They are indeed. This means we're pretty happy to play out a swamp into an Aether Vial this turn. Next turn we can recruit with the guard for something useful, like a Solitude, which should be able to beat some rhinos a little bit. Just trying to think if we have anything better for that. Palace Jailer, not really a thing we want to be getting. Orcish Bowmasters. Opponent's not really a cantrippy deck, are they? Right, let's jam out this recruiter. What are we looking for here? Something that can kill these 4/4s. What can actually kill these 4/4s? Palace Jailer can get there, but we do run this horrible game of the Monarch. But we have Orcish Bowmaster, so if you lose the Monarch, it's not actually the worst. Yeah, I guess we're into Palace Jailers. And we can do Samwise, blocking with our recruiter, getting our recruiter back with the Samwise. Right, so they found a thing here. It's pretty awkward. So they got some power coming in. We get to see their deck. It's pretty much exactly as you'd expect. We know they've got 1 land in hand. There's the land that we knew about. So we'll take 8, go to 10. Hardcast Spirit Guide. It's another guy. Wasteland, not very helpful right now, but it is a mana source. So if we play a Palace Jailer, what does that do for us? What does that do for us? Gives us the Monarch for a turn. Then gives our opponent the Monarch. Then we Bowmasters them. Then what? Sure. This gets rid of one of the Rhinoceroses. And then we have Bowmasters. Or we could let our Palace Jailer die and get it back with the Samwise. That's quite potent as well. Alright, so they're getting some more rhinos here. So we might need to recycle our Palace Jailers a few times, which might prove somewhat difficult. I don't know if we can recycle Palace Jailers this turn. If it trades with the Spirit Guide, then what? How useful is that? Or if we put 1 damage here and then the Bowmasters ping and the other thing, then they get the Monarch, then we ping this and finish it off. That clears a Rhino, and then next turn we can Palace Jailer to block something. This is really bad. We can block here, only take 4, get the Palace Jailer back, have a 2/1 that doesn't do anything. Palace Jailer away one of their Rhinoceroses. I think that's slightly better than the pinging plan. Yuck. I dislike the Rhinoceros deck. I've played it and it did not feel good. I played earlier incarnations than the current ones, but it did not feel like a legacy deck to me. But it certainly looks like it's going to beat us here. Right. Unfortunately, our opponent gets the Monarch, so we'll get a bonus card here. There's this Violent Outburst. Just another one. So this is going to be more Rhinoceroses. I don't know if I can beat more Rhinoceroses. I don't think being the Ring Bearer is going to help very much there. So the reason they did it in response is because they didn't want to draw the extra card. That could be the Footfalls. So no to this. This only hitting non-token creatures is real bad for us. Recruiter of the Guard. We can play Recruiter and find... So we can play a land. We can Palace Jailer to get rid of one of these. Then we can Bowmasters in. And that soaks up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage. So we're dead on that front. Yeah, I think pretty ruined there. Ugh, can't believe we're losing to Rhino decks. Yuck. Okay, so what do we have for this? Some Duresses can help. Containment Priest doesn't do anything here because it's sending his non-token. Stony Silence doesn't do anything. Thalia will help us a little bit. Mindbreak Trap is very unlikely to do anything, so I don't think it's worth bringing in. So, potentially 4 cards I'm interested in here. The Skyclave did not feel very useful. I would not like all of those. The Baubles not massively a fan of those either, to be honest. We just want removal spells. And we're bringing Thalia, so sure, we'll take those up. I understand that Bauble can turn our Samwise into a 2-1 that draws a card. Don't think it's where I want to be. Maybe turn 2 Thalia is okay. We'll keep this. Weirdly, I don't feel very happy in this matchup. Our opponent's just making guys, and our deck is very bad against guys a lot of the time. Because all of our guys are really puny. Alright, so we've got this into Thalia, hopefully next turn. If our opponent can't make the turn 1 rhinos, then we're in an okay spot, provided our Thalia resolves. It taxes them a lot. Alright, so we'll get this out, and we'll go and get ourselves a basic, we'll get a Scrubland, sorry. And let's try the Thalia here. I'm going to cast rhinos in response, that would be very bad for us. Feels like they're about to... Or they might be doing some sort of counter-based shenanigans. But usually their lands in the first turn are just doing rhinoceros stuff. Right, a violent outburst. Sure. So the fact that we're probably going to lose to 2 4/4 rhinos on turn 1 is probably telling us that our deck isn't very good. That's kind of how I feel about that. Like, if you get unlucky and lose to rhinos, sure. But if your deck just feels bad against rhinos, that doesn't spark any joy within me. Okay, so we could Bowmasters, but we lose our guy. We could play this Karakas out. We could Recruiter of the Guard for a removal spell. So we could go and get ourselves a Solitude here. And we can pitch cast that Solitude to get rid of one of these rhinoceroses. That will buy us some time. The reason we didn't play it at the end there, because our opponent had 2 mana up, so... Right, this will cost us our Palace Jailer to do. But I don't think we can afford to take these hits. If we'd have drawn a card that wasn't a land on our last turn, maybe a white card, then we'd have been in a reasonably good spot there. We could have got rid of all their rhinos and then get to play. Now, they might have something like Minsk and Boo to reload with, which will probably beat us. Fire. Okay, they're killing our whole board. That's fun, isn't it? Yeah, we're getting absolutely clowned on here by a deck that I have described as borderline unplayable before. Not ideal. Let's play Scrubland. We have double Bowmasters. That kills the Rhino. So maybe we can get there. They've committed to the attack. So now we have to play a Bowmasters. Ping this. Play Bowmasters. Ping this. Go to blocks. We're going to take 2 here, but we're going to clear the Rhino. Step 1 to winning this game has been achieved. We are not dead yet. We're looking at a Shardless Agent. More Rhinoceroses. Swords to Plowshares. That keeps us alive for 1 turn. Great. Sure, I guess. We have to soak up 1 trample from a Rhinoceros to survive. So throwing both of our guys under the bus. This feels miserable. We're getting a hard cast Force of Will. That is game if they have it. Could even get our opponent below 20. Yeah, we got clowned on there pretty hard. So that's the end of the league, and we went 2-3, which is not a very impressive record, to be honest. Let's talk about the deck. So I think this deck has some fundamental problems with it. So we're relying on our Aether Vial as a 1-drop, but it's not actually going to do anything in our deck. If we play a turn 1 Aether Vial, it doesn't do anything until turn 3 in our deck, which is quite slow for Legacy. Like, Aether Vial is fallen out of favour quite a lot just generally right now, because it's not that impactful, and loads of people have ways of being able to get rid of it early on anyway. So, and also, what are we building up to? We're building up to a turn 3 2-1 off of our Aether Vial, or even if we're playing other lands to try and get the Wasteland going or whatever. A turn 3 2-1. That's not great. Sure, we could rebuy a Wasteland off it, but if you want to recur Wastelands, there's easier ways to do that. You know, you could just play green, for example, is a very fine way of doing that. So yeah, I think the fundamental problem I have with this deck is I don't think Samwise the Stouthearted is a good card. It's okay and does some stuff, and you can build around it to make it a little bit better, and maybe that'll be good. But here, our deck doesn't really do very much with it. Like, yeah, we did have one game where we managed to Wasteland lock our opponent. But a lot of the time, we had this 2-1 that got us a tiny bit of advantage. But we kind of had to, like, hamstring ourselves around doing it. And this body itself isn't really worth it most of the time. So this body was kind of irrelevant. So the extra card we're getting isn't even that good. Like, yeah, we're rebuying a Wasteland or a Palace Jailer. But we could just play another card that does something similar. Like, you could just play, I think there's a 2-mana card that lets you get a creature back from your graveyard. Or I think there's a 3-mana one that gets you any permanent back from your graveyard to your hand. Something like that is kind of doing a very similar job a lot of the time. And this one, because it's only a thing that's gone that turn, the opportunity window for it is so slim. It just doesn't really feel great. And then what else are we doing? We're playing these Recruiter of the Guards, right? But so often we're falling behind that these are just trying to find us like something to stop us from losing. We do have a couple of like things, but like one Passageway Seer to win the game with doesn't feel great. Whereas if you look at the Perez decks that I mentioned at the top that were, you know, the sort of decks that don't look like they have that many threats, but their threats are actually good. They're running 4 Seasoned Dungeoneer and 4 Urza's Saga. Like, those 2 cards on their own are, you know, high quality Magic the Gathering cards that are going to win the game on their own if uncontested. The only thing that we have that actually wins the game on its own if it's uncontested is Passageway Seer, right? The other stuff, very unlikely to win a game with just a Solitude or any of these other things. Passageway Seer can actually get there. And that's one card in our deck. Feels like winning the game is so difficult with this deck. Like, if your opponent has anything that plays to the board, we're behind. Like, we just can't beat that. And sure, we did get jammed up a bit by having Skyclave Apparition versus the deck that's beating you down with tokens. That's kind of annoying. But I think it speaks to the wider fundamental issues that I have with this deck, in that it, you know, we tripped over our own feet with the Karakas once. Or twice, I think, actually, where we just didn't do anything. And then we had some situations where we were casting Recruiter of the Guard, and the options we had didn't feel like, oh, okay, we're all right now. We've got our tutor for something useful. It just felt like we were, okay, we're going to lose slower now, I guess. Now, don't get me wrong, Orcish Bowmasters is very good. It's the best card in this deck by a significant margin. Thoughtseize and Swords of Plowshares and Wasteland also up there. But Orcish Bowmasters felt like the main thing we're doing. And when Orcish Bowmasters isn't good against your opponent's deck, it felt like we didn't really have game. Now, you know, there were some times we played the Orcish Bowmaster that got big. That was like the only real threat we had, and it required our opponent to do some stuff to actually turn it on. So I just don't see how this deck is going to reliably win games, which is the problem. And I don't think Samwise the Stouthearted is worth building a deck around. Certainly not like this, anyway. Maybe if we had some like Lotus Petals and stuff, so we could just play out Sam early on as like a guy that gets the Lotus Petal back. So you can go turn 1 Samwise, turn 2 maybe play an initiative creature. Maybe that would be something a bit more potent than sometimes we can turn 2 draw a card off of our 2-mana 2-1. Like, that's fine. But by Legacy standards, that creature needs to have like flying or death touch or something to be considered. Excuse me. Or, you know, be blue to pitch the Force of Will type stuff like Ice Fang and Baleful Strix. Just didn't feel like, you know, we had a lot of tools that would be useful in this game. We kind of needed something more. So I would definitely go looking more towards Perez, who has recently posted a deck list. I think they top 8'd an event where they had Samwise in their deck that looked a lot more like Death and Taxes. And that's probably a better place to put it than in here. And that deck has more ways of actually winning the game. You know, Stoneforge Mystic and things can just go, okay, can you answer this? No, great, I get to win the game. Okay, you have answered it. Let's keep grinding you because we've got a nice ability to grind here. Our ability to grind is kind of built entirely into our Samwise. We're not even a Yori on deck, which seems wild. Surely smashing Yorin in, putting in some actual win conditions, you know, like Seasoned Dungeoneer, for example. Maybe that needs to get smashed in here as well. And put ourselves onto a Yori on deck, stuff like that. It was weird in one of the games where I was like, oh, our best win condition right now is our opponent casting Show and Tell. Now, you know, we did win that game without our opponent doing the Show and Tell, but it kind of speaks to a more fundamental issue I have with this list. Right, we're playing this Recruiter of the Guard to find a load of stuff that dies to Orcish Bowmasters. We didn't even play against Orcish Bowmasters to get whipped by it, but we did get killed by Furies a little bit, and we got killed by fire. But again, it's because our creatures are vulnerable to these little single pings of damage, which feels a really horrible place to be in the meta right now because of Orcish Bowmasters being everywhere. So it just kind of, I don't know what we're supposed to be good against. Maybe like really dirty decks so we can set up a Samwise lock, but I don't know, it just doesn't feel like on average this deck is going to come together for me. Now, I think you could definitely run hot and draw the right things at the right time because, you know, we do have useful tools here. You know, Plowshares and Passageway Seer can take over the game if you get them at the right time. And, you know, maybe a clutch Skyclave Apparition can really shut down what your opponent's doing, and Bowmaster is obviously very powerful and is probably the thing that's winning you most of your games in this deck at the end of the day. And maybe we can assemble a Samwise lock. But the chance of these things coming together regularly and being good enough to win you the game just seems a bit outlandish for my liking. I think we need some bona fide win conditions in this deck. And I don't really know how I would recommend fixing it. If you've got your heart set on playing something like this, I guess I would say add in Yorion, add in some, you know, proper win conditions, get your Seasoned Dungeoneers, maybe some more Passageway Seers, you know, get something that's going to do something in this day. Maybe you also want some 1-drops as well, so we can commit to the board before turn 2 or 3. It just seems like there's some interesting ideas here, but I'm just sorry to go on, but I just don't like this deck very much. It's also not really my sort of deck, which probably doesn't help, but I do think there's some fundamental underpinnings here that are awkward. Like, we're desperate to get our Karakas lock, to get our Samwise, to the point that we're screwing over our own mana base sometimes by having 4 Karakas. But the Samwise lock isn't very good a lot of the time. You know, people play around Wasteland all the time. And if we're doing that every turn, maybe we're not really getting where we need to be. Now, having Samwise and Mishra's Bauble would be quite nice, but again, they're very specific things you have to have at specific times to get going off. And quite a lot of time, I'm not just going to hold my Bauble because our deck's so light on like meaningful action sometimes that we need to crack our Baubles to try and find something new. So we can't just hold these for Samwise. So yeah, there's just lots of tensions pulling at this deck in a way that I don't like. Sideboard wise, I guess it's fine. I don't really have any problems with that. I think the actual problems are the fundamentals of the deck, in my opinion. But there we are. So that's this deck for today. That's the midweek meta deck. The Legacy Challenge 32 is not necessarily the largest of tournaments, so you could definitely run pretty hard. I guess you can run pretty hard in any sort of tournament, but yeah, we tried something interesting. Trying to jam the new cards. I'm just not really convinced by Samwise at all. So maybe I'll try a Perez deck next time they win a tournament, because they seem to win a lot of tournaments. They're very good. If you want to play mono white, definitely just Google their decks on Goldfish or whatever, because they've got some better ideas for Samwise, in my opinion, than what we're playing here. Okay, we're done for today. So remember to like and subscribe. If you want to leave me a comment, let me know what you think of this deck. I'll be interested to see if you agree with my thoughts, or if you think I'm being a bit too harsh on it. Let me know. And if you'd like a donation deck, get in touch with me via the Discord, or just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. We can sort that out. And yeah, just keep enjoying Legacy, really. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.